Yo, Cultural Confederates, YouTubers, welcome back to the channel. So if Trump wins, should the Democrats, should Biden hand over the keys to the White House? So Cultural Confederacy here, it's Sunday night. Happy Sunday, everybody. And there's an article about this at Fulcrum, spelled Fulcrum, leveraging our differences. That's the little caption, whatever they have for the website, slogan. Now, this came out October 1st. This is by Austin Surratt. And if you're new to the channel, we don't use any fancy graphics here. Epic soundtracks or pretty boy camera angles. It's you, me, my smartphone, the news of the day, and this mission, this crusade to preserve great art, music, history, and culture. So let's get to this. So in this article, he proposes. Now, Surratt is the William Nelson Cromwell Professor of Jurisprudence and Political Science at Amherst College, according to the article. And what he's proposing is that in order to save democracy because of Trump, we have to temporarily destroy democracy to save democracy. Yeah, I know. So he starts out by saying, former Vice President Dick Cheney, a longtime conservative Republican, made headlines when he announced he would be voting for Kamala Harris. And we know how reputable Dick Cheney is. At the same time, he issued an ominous warning. Quote, in our nation's 248-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power. After the voters had rejected him, he can never be trusted with power again. You mustn't turn over the keys to Donald Trump. Now, Cheney's warning should be taken seriously by all Americans, but especially by the Biden administration and the Harris campaign. What will they do if former President Trump wins another term in the White House when the votes are counted on November 5th? It seems likely he can only win a majority in the outdated Electoral College. So I'm taking it this guy doesn't like the Electoral College, or at least he wants it changed. He's never won a popular majority and probably won't this time. So he has got four options here of what the Biden-Harris administration can do to prevent Trump from getting back in office. And it's a lengthy article, so he talks about the moral dilemma, so we'll just kind of skim through this. Playing by the rules. This is the moral dilemma. Should we be playing by the rules? A newsflash, Mr. Surratt. The Republican and Democrat Party have been playing by the rules for years. One response to this situation might echo Michelle Obama's 2016 advice to Democrats, quote, when they go low, we go high. The political philosopher Michael Walzer offers a different perspective. He captures the tenor of the dilemma Democrats will face if Trump wins in what he calls, quote, the dirty hands problem. He did not imagine the kind of dilemma Trump's election would pose or suggest what anyone should do if they faced it. You see where he's going with this? However, Walzer did recognize that political leaders cannot, quote-unquote, govern innocently. In exigent circumstances, they must be prepared to get their hands dirty and do what is necessary for the good of the people they lead, even if it puts them in uncharted territory. So are you suggesting here, Mr. Surratt, that we destroy democracy to save democracy? Well, we don't live in a democracy. We live in a federal republic. Confederation of States. Now, I was debating with somebody online about this, and there's the fact that you have the words federal republic and confederation in the same, or confederate in the same sentence means you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Really now? When we started out as a confederation of states, Articles of Confederation, we had the Philadelphia Convention, The U.S. Constitution was listed from the Articles of Confederation. And all these states agreed that the states were sovereign and independent, and we applied Federalist principles to the Constitution to keep the federal government from encroaching on the rights of the states, while we maintained ourselves as a confederation of states. Some say union, but it's really a confederation, almost like the EU, of free and independent states. They may share common interest. So let's go through this list of these 4 options that he has here. Now, let me back up a moment, because he talks about a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute, Robert Kagan, editor-at-large for the Washington Post, who eliminated the danger behind those words. These words about having to worry about Trump and November 5th. He argued that the odds of the United States falling into dictatorship have grown considerably. Well, why is that? Because we have an over-centralization of power. It's not because of Trump. It's not even because of Harris. It's because we have an over-centralization of power. We've allowed these 2 political parties to take the reins of power. Goes on to say, Kagan does, in just a few years, we have gone from being relatively secure in our democracy, we are a federal republic, to being a few short steps in a matter of months away from the possibility of dictatorship. You see, Trump's a dictator. And I didn't vote for Trump, but Trump's a dictator. Kagan goes on to say that Trump will be a communist tyranny, etc., etc. So here are the 4 possible responses to a Trump victory. First, Biden can do nothing differently than he would have done for a winning Republican candidate who did not threaten to end democracy. This might be attractive because it honors the will of the voters. Oh, so what you admit here is that we have the Electoral College in place, we have these checks and balances, we have this government in place that's elected by the people, that's supposed to represent the people, and that by Biden doing nothing, he would be honoring that. This peaceful transfer of power. Choosing this option would also heed Obama's wisdom by refusing to mimic what Trump and the MAGA crowd tried to do after the 2020 election. What exactly did the MAGA crowd try to do after the 2020 election? We're talking about January 6th, which was a rally that turned into a riot because you had some hoodlums who got out of hand. You didn't have enough security to handle the crowd. There, end of story. But as Kagan warns, doing nothing differently and behaving normally eases the way toward democracy's end. He mentions a second option here, which would be for the Harris campaign to, listen to this, folks, mount vigorous legal challenges to the election outcomes in states where Trump's margin of victory is narrow and where there are plausible grounds for doing so. Oh, so you mean Harris could do what Trump did after the 2020 election? She could file these lawsuits. A third option focuses on using the post-election period to engage in a mass mobilization campaign. A mass mobilization campaign, like the one that occurred after Trump was elected in 2016. Are you referring to Russian collusion, Mr. Surratt? This would have been designed to resist what Trump had said he would do once he is back in the White House, but it would be geared to put in place the infrastructure to sustain protest over the long term. So you mean to tell me that you want a system where nobody can protest the results of any election, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, polka dot purple or green? So the fourth option, here we go, folks. Now he admits this is the riskiest option by far. The fourth option, by far the riskiest, most controversial. While the first 3 can be pursued within well-established constitutional norms, the fourth would at first glance seem to transgress those norms. Faced with the prospect of a Trump presidency, some out of desperation might urge Biden to turn the tables on Trump and refuse to transfer power to him. So you want to destroy democracy because of Trump in order to save democracy. Biden would resign, Harris would take over as president, be sworn in as president, and there would be no constitutional problems here if he were to take this step, really. So by Biden refusing to hand over the keys to Trump, he's not violating the Constitution? I'm a little confused here, Mr. Surratt. So he goes on to talk about the guarantee clause and the electoral clause, how they're in contradiction of each other. I'm just going to run through this to save time here. So he calls it the electoral clause. Well, it's not the electoral clause. It's called the elections clause. It's Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1 of the Constitution. The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except to the places of choosing senators. Now, what is a guarantee clause? It's not really called the guarantee clause. It's Article 4, Section 4. It says, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. On application of the legislature or of the executive, and this is in parentheses, when the legislature cannot be convened, or legislature, against domestic violence. So these two articles mirror each other. Article 4, Section 4 is saying the United States is guaranteeing every state in this thing called the United States a republican form of government, which was agreed upon during the Philadelphia Convention. And it's the responsibility, duty of the central government to protect the states from invasion. And anything that would threaten that republican form of government. And one of the ways you protect that is by having the time, places, and manners of holding elections for senators and representatives given to the states. But Congress may at any time make a law or alter such regulations regarding elections, except in the places of choosing senators. So Mr. Surratt really needs to go back and reread history here. So he wants us to destroy democracy to protect democracy. As I said, this is a lengthy article. I'm just going to stop there. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can follow me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Or you can go to X, Culture Confederacy, at Culture Confed 1 on X. You can now find me at Substack. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time. And you all have a great Sunday night. Take care.